Hi, sixth grade parents. Today we are going to dig into the first head of development for Chreia's called the Encomium. This is an extremely important paragraph for the students because it ends with the thesis, which is pivotal to the rest of the paper that the students are writing. So to help us out today, we're going to take a look at a quote by William Shakespeare. "Poor and content is rich, and rich enough." Now, in the encomium paragraph, students are to praise the author. So in this case, praise Shakespeare. We're going to identify 3 specific accomplishments and 2 adjectives that would describe his character. And I've told the students in class that it is extremely helpful if they choose their achievements first, because from those achievements, they can draw upon different character traits and qualities that would describe someone who accomplished such things. So that will help the overall flow of the encomium rather than having it sound as if you've got qualities or character traits that do indeed match the individual, but maybe aren't proven or represented by the actual achievements that you've chosen. There can be a disconnect when that happens, and it just makes for a choppier sounding encomium rather than a smooth, connected, well-structured paragraph. So whenever possible, that's the best way to go about it. So for example, for this particular quote, "Poor and content is rich and rich enough," we're going to take a look at Shakespeare. We're going to first look at some of the things that he's known for, some of the accomplishments and achievements that he's done. So we would say something like he was the first in his time to consistently write entertaining plays and have them performed publicly in front of an audience that included both men and women on the stage. We might say that he was credited for writing at least 37 plays that were either comedies or tragedies, and that he drew more and more people to his theater, boldly taking the risk that people may or may not enjoy his work. We could talk about how he applied his creativity to write 154 sonnets, poems that were 14 lines long and ranged in themes from everything from life to love to beauty to mortality, and that he was such a great poet and playwright that he was able to join the Lord Chamberlain's men and devote their entire lives to acting and playwriting. So given those particular achievements, there are lots of things we could say about the man that Shakespeare was. We might choose to say that he was creative. We could say that he was confident and courageous. We could say that he was successful in that he was able to produce the number of sonnets that he did and that people did show up to his theater. And that he was a member of the Lord Chamberlain's men, which would have been an honor for him. So there are several different choices, and the students may come up with multiple ones. But once they have an idea of a few qualities, the best thing to do is to select the ones that, first of all, fit the achievements that you're writing about the best, and then, if possible, which ones would be most powerful in defending the quote. So because Shakespeare says poor and content is rich and rich enough, I could choose to pull the character trait creative. We could say that he had creativity, that he was a creative individual because all of those achievements lended themselves to things that showed creativity. But I'm going to choose the word successful as my second character trait because in our world today, we attribute success and measure success by the wealth or the riches the individual has. Not that it is the correct way, but that is a worldly way that people on this earth measure one's success, unfortunately. So by choosing the word successful and linking it to the quote, it's going to be able to give the student more options of tying that all in through other paragraphs or heads of development of their Chreia. I'm thinking, for example, when they get to the paragraph or the head of development on usefulness. When can this quote be useful? I'm thinking about that word successful and William Shakespeare and his quote on riches and being poor and content and how that is enough. So just anything that can help them gear up for the rest of their paper would also be a wise choice to choose as a character trait or an adjective to describe. So Encomium is going to have the 3 achievements. It's going to have at least 2 character traits. These can be outright stated. They can say William Shakespeare was a creative and successful individual who changed the life of the Renaissance in many ways. Or they can be embedded within the accomplishments. So it's however your student chooses to do that. They can come right out and make it very, very clear, or they can say that he showed or displayed creativity in the way he, and then list the achievement. So there's flexibility within there. But where there is not flexibility is in the last sentence of this particular head of development. The last sentence should always, always, always be the thesis. And the good news, I've told the students, is that once you can write a solid thesis, you can carry that thesis into your other Chreias. They're all very similar because the purpose of a Chreia is to cause one to seek this person's advice, to want to heed their advice and listen to them. So in this case, we're going to want to say something like, given Shakespeare's creativity and successfulness on this earth, one would be wise to follow his advice on the value of being poor and content. So you could summarize the point of the quote, or you could actually come right out in your thesis and state the quote. So you might say something like, given Shakespeare's creativity and successfulness and willingness to try new things without the promise of wealth, one would be wise to follow his advice when he says, poor and content is rich and rich enough. So somewhere in that thesis, you need to make reference to the specific quote. We are not being general here, folks. We are not saying one would be wise to listen to a man like William Shakespeare. Nope, we're being very specific, linking it to the quote, stating the quote, making it very, very clear that you have just built up this man, you've built his character, and now you're going to tell me why I should listen to him and why this particular quote is a good one. So I hope that helps. If questions arise, just let me know. We'll get some of them explained as the rest of the paragraphs and the heads of development get explained in future videos. But because the encomium and thesis are so important and valuable, I wanted to make sure that we devoted an entire little tutor session just on that particular part of the Chreia. All right, thank you.